Welcome, everybody. Good evening. We are Agile Learning Labs, and we are doing a very special LinkedIn Live focusing on job seeking and the job search. I'm Season, and I'm an Agile coach with Agile Learning Labs. I'm joined by Chris, who is the founder of Agile Learning Labs, and our very special guest today is Oren. I'll tell you a little bit about Oren, although when I asked him for an introduction, he said he was too mysterious for an introduction. Those were his words. But he eventually let me know that he started off in customer support before moving into project management. And Oren, you said you found out about Scrum through a meetup at, was it Roundtable Pizza?
Yeah.
What
Do you
do you
know?
remember what pizza you were having?
I don't. Do you know who the host was?
No, who?
His name is Chris.
What?
Did you actually not know? I want to see if I.
No, I knew.
Okay.
I was just pointing up to the camera.
It has been quite a long time since we've been
Since
at the
round table pizza.
Yeah.
Amazing. How long
Scrum
ago was
professionals meet.
that?
That was probably 2014, I think, 2015.
Oh, just yesterday, practically. So I'm curious to hear a little bit about your experience and what took you from customer support to project management and then into Scrum. Tell us more.
Yeah. So what initially, I think what I would say is initially, I never really liked customer support. Customer support was just sort of like my in, because I went to Toastmasters for a couple of years, so I was good at public speaking, and I really couldn't break in any other way. Despite I like tried applying for like 6 months and just couldn't even get an interview, and then I finally just decided to settle and work my way up the ladder. What got me into project management was that in college I like to do event management, and my father, who is a project manager, suggested I pivot into project management instead of just event management, because there's a lot more jobs and that there's a lot of, I wasn't exactly sure what I wanted to do with my life back right out of college. So he said that there's like a lot of opportunity, a lot of flexibility to choose your industry. If you're a good project manager, you can, learn the industry secondarily. And then once upon a time, I went to Roundtable Pizza. Walked in randomly. I'm kidding. I walked in knowing that there would be a Scrum Master. I walked in just looking for a slice, and then I discovered Scrum.
And it was fate.
Exactly. No, I knew Chris was going to be there. I knew there was an event. And I just really I don't know what it was about that event. Most of the time, I kind of get bored at these events, but there's something about this one that I really enjoyed, like talking about Scrum, and like I think what kind of was interesting was how like flat it was. I wasn't just like a project manager, like leading downward, but rather the Scrum Master sort of integrated into the team, is an equal, or even, is the servant leader. So they're kind of like underneath almost the team in certain regards. And I really liked it. And I remember asking my dad a lot of questions in the car, and I just went from there. And then I started hanging around Chris, and he hasn't been able to get rid of me since.
I see in the chat, Andy was hanging out with us back in the day at Roundtable Pizza.
The true OGs were at Roundtable Pizza. Okay.
I'm so sad to miss that. What's your favorite pizza, Oren?
Barbecue chicken, I think.
Barbecue chicken? Okay, yeah. Good choice. Chris, what about you?
If I'm at Roundtable, I go old school and just pepperoni.
That's fair.
Pepperoni.
Classic. I actually have never been to a Roundtable Pizza. I think those days were before I joined the group, sadly. But if I were there, I'm just a cheese girl. That's all. That's all you need.
So
plain cheese. Cheesy. So, Oren, your journey in Scrum, working in Scrum, different roles, different companies, what's that been like?
Well, initially, it was pretty solid. So I've told this to Chris, and I think Season as well. But initially I think it was like really great, and there were lots of people hiring Scrum Masters, and it was a really I've always just had a really great experience. I was at Fisher, and they were like really great, and Lucid. Now the economy's kind of taken a slight nosedive, understatement. I've been noticing that a lot of people are trying to save money and headcount by cramming the Scrum Master role into like other positions, and then having you do them kind of secondarily, which is not not ideal. Obviously, anyone you're trying to like focus on the team, and they're trying to throw like other more project management oriented activities at you. So, I mean, I love being a full time Scrum Master. It's really cool to meet the team, to get to know them, to find those little light bulb moments, as Chris's thing would say.
Light bulb moment learning experiences. Do you have any particular light bulb moments that have stood out for you as you're working with different teams?
Not really. What I normally find is that there's just like little small increments. I remember once in one of my roles, I dug deep enough that I got like one of my members of my team, like not like angry, but like fired up. And I was like, there we go. Like at one of my retros, I got him fired up, and he's like, well, this is what we got to do. I'm like, yes, that's what I want. I wanted you to get mad. I want to feel the rage. And we saw how like how passionate he was about like certain things, and like in the organization. I went, this is exactly the organizational change I'm going to be pursuing. And then I got laid off like 3 days later.
Oh no.
It's classic. That's how it goes.
Oh man, I feel like every time I go on LinkedIn or I talk to people, just so many layoffs these days.
Yeah.
What's it been like for you going through that?
It's rough. It doesn't get easier. Actually, it does maybe just a bit, but it's really exhausting. The most frustrating thing about a layoff is sometimes you get laid off like really early, and it gets really difficult because you're in this awkward situation where you have to go up to someone and say like, "Hey, for the last 2 months, I haven't really done anything because I was a Scrum Master, but like I'm just trying to learn the product and learn the teams and learn the issues." And now it's month 2, and I kind of got a grasp on things, and I have to go. And it's really awkward to like just kind of present it on your resume, and you just have to hope that, and like the machine, like the automatic HR machine's like, oh, this dude was only here for 2 months. Well, maybe they just were, that's a flight risk. They're a red flag. Like, why'd they leave? Maybe in this economy, I feel like the machine is capable of, they can be picky in that way. So it can be really challenging.
What's your advice to someone in that situation, someone who's been laid off recently?
Yeah, so I've been laid off twice in like 2 months. That was what happened. So I got laid off in December, and I picked something up in January, like during the holidays, unheard of. And then I got laid off again in March. So it was like, right, it was rough. So then what's really funny is I told Season, I saw Amy was on here last time. I was like, Season, I need to be on here next time. And then I actually pulled a role between now and then. So it was really funny because like I was like, all right, I'm still gonna do this. I was like, do I pretend to be unemployed for the show, for the fans, for the content?
No, but absolutely not. Authenticity is one of our values here. And we're so excited that you've gotten a job. You told us it right before we went live, and I just said, let's go live. I want to hear all about this.
Yeah.
So, Oren, do you want to tell us more about what your search was like, what worked for you, what didn't?
Yeah.
And of course, I want to hear more about your next adventure.
Yeah, so I'm totally happy to do that. So what advice I have, I hate giving this advice, but I'm kind of concerned that I have to, and that's the lower your expectations advice. It's not the best, and I always like to know to be that guy who's like, yeah, you got to go, shoot for the moon, like you deserve better, and you do, by the way. Everybody deserves like probably better than what they're getting, but it's one of those days where I'm just kind of like of the opinion like, let's go 1 week without layoffs and then shoot for the moon. Until that day comes, then like, because like you're trying to shoot, but like just like more people keep entering the market, which is really difficult. And so I recommend like you take a slight pay cut, and you maybe take a slight responsibility cut, And you do that. It's I don't feel like I've had to do that with my new role, which is great in terms of responsibilities. So that's really great. But a lot of people do, and I just think that you can't really be picky. It's just one of those things where I recommend like stability, and then when better economic times come, you can start to be more picky, more pushy. That's what I would recommend. In terms of what got me a job, attrition is a good old way of doing it. I don't know why. Like I'm that kind of person who, like, I'm gonna get my friend to refer me, and I'm gonna get this person to refer me, and I'm gonna get, and like nothing ever comes from referrals. So then I just spam my resume to like 200 recruiters and like a million LinkedIn posts or Indeed posts, and something hits. What I can tell you that there's a few things that I recommend. The first one is sort of knowing being multidisciplinary right now is really helpful. As I mentioned, I asked the person like what was interesting about me. I've asked my like hiring manager like why me? I'm just curious. Out of all the resumes that came up, and one of the things he says is like I was looking for someone who knew Scrum and project management, because I have
Oh,
both this
wow.
ACSM with Trisha Broderick. That's a plug.
Oh,
And
she's amazing.
she is amazing. ACSM, and I'm also a certified PMP. And they said like I wanted that person who can like wear both hats.
Wow.
And you know, it's also kind of a bit annoying because like it's not ideal to wear both hats, but like, you know, it's fine. It's part of, sometimes you can do it, and I intend to, do my very best at it. In terms of interview, so one of the things I wanted to bring this up, because I asked like, what worked on the interview and what didn't, and the interviewer I told me, well, he asked me a question. I'll ask you two this question too. I'll see what your answer's in.
Oh, I'm nervous.
Because you're both Scrum Masters. Yeah, you're being interviewed, okay, for the role. So he asked me, what's the most important part of a user story?
Oh, I know my immediate answer. I would say it's the conversation that the team has about the user story and not necessarily the user story itself.
And I think, especially in an interview, I would say the value.
Okay.
Who's right, Oren? You got it right.
So I'll tell you what he said to me. So what he said to me was, I've asked this question like to multiple people, and you're the only person who answered it correctly. And most people, when you ask them, these people who have like, who have Scrum certifications like the CSM or the PSM, what's the most important part of the user story? They'll say like, well, it's the persona, right? It needs to say, I am right, blah, blah, right? My answer was that it needs to have a definition of ready, and it needs the story, the team needs to have a definition of ready, and the story needs to be part of the, what is the word I'm looking for, tied to the definition of ready. And that he liked that he said that like there needs to be an understanding of readiness, and that the story meets that definition of readiness. So,
wow.
And this is, go ahead, Chris.
There's something at play here that I actually think is really important, which is, and I fell into the trap of answering the question that I heard and that I thought I understood. Yeah. And it's so perfect that it's a user story question, because teams do this with user stories all the time. Right? They read the 3 lines, and they're like, oh yeah, we know what that is. And they go out 2 weeks building something. It turns out to be the wrong thing. And what I love is you got into a conversation, it sounds like, that showed that you had a deeper understanding of kind of the underlying mechanism.
Yeah.
Right.
No, that's definitely, you can definitely tell when someone is, that's one of the things. And this is one of the reasons why I think nobody wants to hire, sort of like when you just roll up to someone like, I have a CSM. Can I get a job as a Scrum Master? Most people say, because you can tell kind of when you're talking to people who just kind of like did their test open book, and who actually kind of like understands this on a more philosophical, basis, because it does come out in the interview. I've had it. Yeah, I run this. I'll plug my own. I'm not gonna plug, but I run a Discord server basically where I talk about project management. I'll put it in the chat later.
Yeah, please do.
I run a Discord server about getting people certified in the PMP, and the PMP is like 60% Agile. So we talk about Scrum all the time, and there's just a bunch of people with CSMs in this community who will just say like, who don't like very clearly don't understand. They like understand like, oh, we have retrospectives, but not like why, right, and how.
Yeah.
And that comes with time, and that comes with research. It comes with going to Chris Sims' office hours every Monday at 3 p.m. It does. I know I'm making a plug, but like unironically, like seriously, it does come with like listening and chatting about these things, and like, and those little life experiences. I still say it, like I had a very good connection and it was also when the economy was like on fire that got me my first Scrum job. I came out, 1 year and I came in and out of like as like a much better Scrum master. And I just feel very lucky because it was a very close connection and very good timing. But yeah, it was great.
You mentioned a Discord community. How did that get started?
What's actually just funny was, so I was looking to start the PMP, and then as I was doing it, I'm on Discord because I like playing games, and I joined a Discord, and I just saw that there was a PMP Discords community, so I joined it, and I was very active in it. And the person who started it said to me at the end of it, after we passed roughly the same amount of time, he messaged me and just said like, "Hey, I have no interest in this community. Like I opened it because like I just opened it because I wanted to study and like it felt like smart to have it all. But now that like I passed, I'm done with this community. I don't like ever want to see the letters P or M ever again. And so like if you want to take it over, you can take it over. And so I took it over and I had like 300 people. It's now got like 1,400. And yeah, people come in. Yeah, we got like a nice group of people who come in, and it's fun because they come in and out, because it's one of those things. I'm sure anyone who runs like a career organization knows this, a career like helpful organization where like as people get jobs, they leave, and then as soon as they lose their job, they come back. I'm guilty of it too. I'm guilty of it too. There's several communities where I'm like, I attend when I'm unemployed and I just forget about them forever when I'm employed. And mine is one of them for others. So we have a nice community. And if you're looking for the PMP, if you're looking to study for the PMP or the CSM, and you are already on Discord, it's a great resource.
Do you recommend people who are looking for jobs who have a PMP or who have a CSM, do you recommend that they get the other one to kind of complement their skills? Like what would you recommend there?
So right now the PMP is like really trying to step on Agile's I don't know, into like, they're just trying to like eat the CSM, the Scrum Alliance, as far as I'm aware, because they've taken the PMP. I took it, and it's literally like 60% Agile, and then the other 40%, like it's when you think about it, it's like 100% Agile, because what they'll do is they'll ask you a question, and you have to figure out if it's like an Agile question or not. So they'll ask you a question, and they won't tell you that it's Agile, but they'll tell you you're talking to a PO, and then you have to be like, okay, this is a Scrum team. So the PMP, like, it's not anymore like, this is the PMP is like the traditional certification, and the Scrum CSM is like the Scrum certification. Now the PMP is like both, but it does still have the reputation of being sort of traditional. So yeah, I do recommend it. If you do the PMP, then like the CSM is like, it's very comparatively easy. But yeah, I recommend it.
I had no idea. I took some project management classes, I think 5 or 6 years ago, and I just remember there being like risk registers and project charters, and I just felt like so lost, and was like, why are we doing all of this stuff?
It can be like extremely overwhelming when you're just starting. I like taking the exam like too many times. That's why I'm like an expert at. So here's the thing. I took the CS. This is just like a fun fact about me. So the PMP has another certification. The PMI has a certification called the CAPM.
Oh.
And it is the junior certification. This is for people who just graduate college or high school and want to dip their foot in the project management. It's 75% PMP. So I took it and I passed it. And then 5 years later, because at this time, nowadays you just do the PDUs and you can renew it. At this time, you had to renew it by retaking the test. So I retook the test again because I didn't want to lose the distinction. And I took the PMP. So I took like the PMP 3 times and passed it 3 times. So that's one of the reasons why I took over the community and why I'm like good at it, because like I've got it like now memorized. Like once you do the PMP, once you pass it 3 times, you're a guru. Like you
Natural.
can't like even I can't forget it anymore. I'll go to my
Even if you want to.
Yeah, now my life is all about, now I'm just gonna make my stakeholder register whether I like it or not.
Oh no. Well, speaking of the PMP and your community, I see Julie in chat, who is a sausage and mushroom pizza kind of person. Awesome. Julie's mentioning about having mentors, and it sounds like something that your community might have. Have you ever had a mentor, Oren, or experienced a mentorship?
Yeah, I definitely have experienced a mentorship. At Fisher, they hooked me up. Every Scrum Master got a mentor from the Scrum at Scale people. The name is like escaping me, but they're part of the Scrum Alliance. I can't remember. They're basically Scrum Alliance. So I had this guy. His name is Mark Sheffield, and the guy is like a guru of Scrum. He retired recently, but the guy very much knew his stuff, and he's very smart. And yeah, Mark, if you're definitely not listening. But if you're out there, he's retired.
Know.
You never know. Hey, if you're in the chat, Mark. But yeah, he's he was my mentor, and it definitely really helps to have a mentor. I'm thinking about doing mentorship for my community. I don't know how it'll look like, but
nice.
Would be cool. I know, Julie, that the PMI, I think they do a mentor-mentee program, so maybe look into that if you're interested.
Or join Oren's community and find one.
Yeah.
Something you mentioned earlier that stuck with me is kind of when we were talking about layoffs and machines, and everyone thinks AI is taking over the world. How, with resumes, what tips do you have for kind of getting your resume past the machines? And did you do anything special for the role that you just landed?
That's a really quick. Julie, please mention what role you're looking to get, and then we'll talk. Okay, so to further to answer your question, what did I do with my resume? No, you don't need to link it. Just what's the job title? So how do I do it? Like buzzwords really help. Obviously, the machine is like, it's a terrible answer, but honestly, the machine is looking for buzzwords, and it is going to only pass you through if you have a certain amount of buzzwords on your thing. PMP is one of them. To this date, by the way, I still have the words. So I'm a certified ACSM, which is Advanced Certified Scrum Master, and to this day, I still list the CSM and the ACSM, even though it's technically repetitive and redundant. Because if you're an ACSM, you are a CSM. You have to do it because the machine might think the ACSM is something completely different. So you want to use like as many of those. Like you want to list just all the different tools you've ever experienced or think you can use. And I write at Microsoft and Outlook and all that stuff on my resume, and that helps. And that helps you get by the machine. So yeah,
totally. I do the same thing. All the letters that I have acquired, they all go on the resume. All of the Scrum events are listed out using the language that's in the job search or the job posting. I do that too. It's not any kind of a lie or being disingenuous, because I genuinely have all of this experience, but it is a lot of just like making sure all of those keywords are on the resume. So Julie, if you're looking for that Scrum Master job, make sure you've got your CSM on there, that you have Scrum Master spelled in different ways. Chris and Oren, for anyone who has just gotten their CSM, any advice for those who are new to the field and looking for jobs?
So if you're looking for a Scrum Master role, there's this organization that I've come across called Silicon Valley Project Management. I was just Googling it. They're a volunteer organization, and what you do is you are a member of their team. You're a member of the team, and then you guys switch off being Scrum Masters for different teams. Like you're a developer, you're a team member for one team, and then you're Scrum Master for the other, and then you can you can get some Scrum Master experience while helping other people. This can help bolster your resume that you've had experience and you've done this. In terms of like how to get a job, like I said, it's make sure to understand Scrum from like a very philosophical level, right? Like when people ask you, what's the most important part of a user story? Don't tell them it's the persona, right? Make sure to be able to, right, like understand that deeper level. And one of the things you can do, so for the ACSM, it doesn't say you have to be a Scrum Master. It says you have to do like work pertaining to being a Scrum Master. So if you can get a job as like a project coordinator and you are like leading, stand-ups and maybe a retro, yes, Silicon Valley project management, exactly. If you're leading like, stand-ups in the retro, even if you're not like doing a planning meeting, it's not perfect. You can have you can have experiences to draw on, stories to draw on, life lessons to draw on. It can help you get that start. That's how I would recommend doing it if I was just totally fresh with no Scrum Master experience, because I've got like a year and change underneath my belt. And it's just like, I go on LinkedIn and you look up a Scrum Master role. It's like, oh yeah, this was posted 3 hours ago, 250 applicants. It's like, okay, well, I'm just going to throw my resume into the pile, see if that works.
A couple of quick things to add. So clarification, you actually can take your advanced certified Scrum Master workshop. As soon as you have your CSM, you can sign up and take the advanced workshop, so you get all that learning and knowledge. But you won't get the certification until you've logged a year of experience, doing Scrum Master type stuff. And yep, exactly. And then even more in-depth advice for getting your first Scrum Master job. There's this awesome article. I want to paste it in the chat. Ironically, as participants, I can't paste in the chat. It's agilelearninglabs.com. Click on our blog and scroll back to April of 2022. There's this amazing article called How Do I Get a Scrum Master Job? And it covers things like getting certified, revamping your resume, engaging with the Agile community, finding a mentor, volunteering to gain experience with links to places where you could do that volunteering, and lots of other great advice. It was written by, who is this guru who wrote that? Oh, Season.
That's
wrote
me.
that article.
And we'll paste a link to it right after this stream. We can't paste links during the stream, but we'll get you a link to that article, as well as, Oren, if you're willing to share a link to your Discord community, we'll paste that in after. So yeah, all of the advice that I have is already in that article too. So check that out. Oren, are you open to sharing a little bit about where it is? April 2022.
That's
where
correct.
it is that you're going next and what you're doing?
I'm going to be, I'm working at Johnson & Johnson next. I actually had my first day today, so it's like,
oh, wow. How'd it go?
It went well. I really like my boss and a lot of the people there. It looks like a really fun, and the technology they're using is like incredible. It's really like neat and interesting. So I'm really excited. Like super excited. Anyway,
excited for you. Congratulations.
Thank you. So
yeah, cheers. Water.
And yeah, it's gonna be it seems it's gonna be more project management oriented. I think that there may be some Scrum component to it. It's kind of like the role's a bit flexible, but seems to be working in that direction. But if it isn't Scrum, that's fine as well. Like I saw like what I'm really interested in, like the work. I think that's really important because we're working on like really cool stuff. Yes,
that's awesome.
Ethicon. How'd you know, Andy? Yeah, exactly. So if you look at like J&J Ethicon, it's very cool stuff, and I'm really excited for it. So independent of whether it's Scrum or not, it's just I'm excited, and it's also just good to be back at work. Is also just like a big component of it, because it feels counterintuitive to what it should be, but when I just like wake up and you're just like, all right, it's time to like work on my Discord and my side projects, it's like nothing gets done. When I come home at 5 p.m. or 6 p.m., it's like I'm gonna put in a solid hour, and that hour is like more solid than what I do the whole day when I'm unemployed. So I don't know, I'm broken in that way. There's probably some science behind it, to be honest, but I am. Yeah, I'm just happy to.
That's funny because
and stuff like that.
I often find that for me, the secret is I can get all sorts of stuff done as long as it's not the thing I'm supposed to be doing.
Oh, that's true.
If I've got like a really important thing I'm supposed to get done today, oh my goodness, it's like, gosh, look at all the dust around here. I should dust.
Like when you have nothing on your agenda, like boring cat videos are just like, why would I ever spend time? When you got that thing you're dreading is coming up and you see a cat video, how do you not click on it? Like,
I don't know if you can really put the word boring in front of cat videos. That doesn't belong there.
Oh, this is about to get ugly, I can tell.
On that note,
the next half an hour is just going to be a dog versus cat
videos. Well, Oren, huge congratulations on your next adventure. We are so delighted to hear that you have found a role, and thank you so much for sharing a bit about what took you there and how you landed it. Thank you for your time. We are doing this again next month, June 6th at 6 p.m. with actually another person who landed a role very quickly after a layoff. So if that is something that you are going through, stay tuned. There is hope, and we will have plenty of tips and advice for you on that. Oren, Chris, thank you again so much. Thank you, Julie, Andy, and everyone who is tuning into this tonight. And we will see you again soon. Take care.
Bye, Al.
Bye.